Welcome to lesson 7.38, looking at interpreting graphs. As we look at this today, we're going to look at a number of different types of graphs so that we can understand the pictures and the lines and the bars and anything like that that might be represented. So we start with this graph. It's a pictograph. We see that one taxi represents 5 cars, or 5 cars is for one orange picture. So with that in mind, then we can move on to our questions. It says the orange taxi company deploys cars each day. How many cars did the taxi company send out on Wednesday? So by looking at Wednesday, then I'm going to count up the number of pictures. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6 total, and I know that each one represents 5 cars. So 6 times 5 gives me an answer of 30 cars, or 30 taxis. So we have this idea. All right, use the table here and the information to solve this question now. Obviously, there are other types of graphs out there, such as this bar graph. So as we look at this bar graph, we see it's the average price of gasoline by states. We see the states on the bottom. We see the prices on the left. And as we look at this, we can use this to just find information initially. It says about how much is the average price of gas for the state of Florida. Okay, so we go to Florida. We make our way up the bar. We get to about here, we come over, it's about $3.20. And so we have that idea. However, as well as graphs can give us information, sometimes graphs can actually be misleading in their information. And so the way we graph things and the way that we look at a graph needs to be analyzed so that we understand the picture that is being shown to us. So, for example, we look at the data from Hawaii and Missouri. So as you look at the two bits of data, why is this graph misleading according to the values? And so if I'm looking at the values here, right, Hawaii has 3.6 or $3.60 per gas, and Missouri here, of course, has just about $3. However, as you look at the graph and you compare the two bars, it would appear that this bar, our Hawaii bar, is about double the size of Missouri. Oh, I got a new follower on Twitter. Wonderful. So we have this idea, right? But as you look at our values then, right, 60 cents more. Is 60 cents more really half the size? All right, so this graph is a little bit misleading because it looks like Missouri's gas is way, way, way cheaper than Hawaii's, half the cost, but really it's only 60 cents. And that's why we would say this graph is a little bit misleading. Right? And you'll see other examples from time to time being able to analyze a graph for the data that it's showing you. Then we can talk about this idea, right? It says Carlene, a film student, kept track of the movies she watched each month. So how many movies did she watch in August? So reading a a line graph is, finding the dots. So here's August. Okay, we go up to the dot. There's our dot. We go over. Okay. 15 movies. So we have that idea. All right, let's see if you can answer this next question then. All right, very often with line graphs, there's a pattern, kind of a consistency that can come with them. However, I want you to look at this graph. I'll get rid of my blue line. And tell me, is there a consistency? Is there a pattern that you see as you look at the graph? Then explain your answer as you come away with that. All right, we'll discuss that more in class. Finally, we can talk about circle graphs or pie graphs as they are divided up. And so as we see, students definitely like ice cream. They love their mint chocolate chip, 50%. But we can use this data to help us understand, right? What fraction of the students prefer vanilla ice cream, right? And so here we look at our data, we see 25%, so which fraction of the students? So that would be, we know that 25% is the same as 1/4. If you don't know that, you could take 25%, that's a weird looking 5, over 100%, and then you can reduce that fraction, and you would get to 1/4. So we have that idea. All right, finally, solve for this last idea then. How many students like strawberry? I guess I don't have to go down. How many students like strawberry? Go ahead and solve for that. That's your final sample problem. And that brings us to the end of lesson 38.